Good everyone, my name is Graphics. So today we have another illustration in control system, but this time it is control system with feedback loop element, right? Now if you look at this, we have a summer, right? We have two blocks that have a gain of G1 and H1, and we have a negative feedback, and this point here is called the takeoff point. Naturally, before I prove this, the final answer of this, the rule here is just that it will be the element, the transfer function that is on the same line, that is the gain G1, right, all over 1 plus G1 H1, G1 H1. That is my answer. Now we want to prove if we are correct. Then we'll talk more about this. Now let's start. What you do is you redraw this to make it more compact, right? What do you notice? This is an output signal. This is the input signal, right? Now what's happening? There's a negative feedback. So it will be H1 times what? Times Cx, right? So it will be H1Cx. So if I should redraw this, this is what I am going to be having. So this is what we have, right? So I just, because there's a negative feedback loop here, it will be this multiplied by this, entering into what? Into the summing point. So this is what we are going to be having, right? Now the next thing you do is that you allow this point here to be what? To be A, right? And I said earlier, you don't put any representation in between the output and a block or a transfer function. Now the aim of doing all these things is that we want to get the overall transfer function, that is just one single block. Now what you do is, this is a summer, and I told you that a summer used to add two or more signals, right? So from here we'll move forward. A, you say let A be equals to, this is RS, that is the input signal, minus gain H1 multiplied by the output signal, what we're having here, right? Now the next one will be CS. This will call this equation 1. So the next one is giving us the output signal equals to G1A. So G1A, I'll call it equation what? Equation 2. So we move forward. Now if you look at this very well, we are going this direction like I told you earlier, from the highest to the lowest. Now from equation 2, substitute A, substitute A equals to what? The output minus the gain, the input minus the gain times what? The output. That I'm talking about equation 1. Substitute A equals to RS minus H1Cx into equation 2. So if I should write equation 2, I will have the output signal will give me the gain 1 times A. So what is A? A is giving us Rx minus H1 CS, right? So that will be, if I should write that, so my CS here will give me G1 times Rs will give me G1 Rx, which is the input, minus G1 H1 and what? CS. So I multiply, I expanded this. So this will be my equation what? Equation 3. Now the next thing you do is to collect like terms. So in collecting like terms, I have CS here, I also have CS here. So I told you the output must always be at the left hand side. So it will be that CS minus G1 H1 CS. This will become plus because we are moving to the other side of the equation sign. So equals to what? G1 RS. Now if you factorize, I have CS common to both sides. So when I bring out my CS, I'll be having the quotient of CS here is 1 remaining, plus the quotient of CS here is what? G1 H1. So this is what we're having, equals to what? G1 RS. Right? So from here, the aim is to divide both sides by RS. You must divide both sides by the what? By the input signal. So we say that dividing both sides by RS. So we're having CS into bracket 1 plus G1 H1 equals to G1 RS. So we're dividing both sides by RS. That is the input. Right? So the RS will equate RX. So we are going to be left with CS into bracket 1 plus 1 plus G1 H1 all over CS all over RX, right? RX equals to what? G1. That is what we're having. Now the next thing is we want CS and RS to remain alone. That means the value transfer function is the output over the input. So what will you do? Divide both sides by what is close to both of them, which is what? 1 plus G1 H1. So if I divide both sides by that, so I'll say dividing both sides by 1 plus G1 H1, right? And that will give me CS into bracket 1 plus G1 H1 all over RX equals to G1, right? So if I divide both sides now, this will give me 1 plus G1 H1 all over 1 plus G1 H1. So this will equate this. So we are left with what? When you write this here, we are left with CS over RX equals to G1 all over 1 plus G1 H1. So this is what we have. Now what do we have here? Our answer is the overall transfer function here is giving us what? G1 over 1 plus G1 H1. So if you look at this I wrote here now, is what I wrote earlier in the video, right? I said this is what we are going to get, if you can remember. So whenever you see a control system arranged this way, the one on the linear part will be dividing the gain on the linear part, dividing the gain that is parallel to it. The one on the linear part, which is G1, will be dividing 1 plus multiplication of the both of them. Are you with me? It will be G1 over 1 plus G1 H1. So that means if I'm having A here and I'm having B here, so if I want to do that, it will be A all over 1 plus AB, and so on and so forth. So if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button and also click on the like button. Watch out for my next video. Bye.